Hi everyone, it's Chrissie and welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build. So today's build is going to be another Werewolves build because yes, I'm still obsessed with the new pack. Even though at this point we've actually gotten the announcement for the next pack as well. I'll talk about that a little bit later because I first want to mention, what this build is about. But yeah, so we're doing another Werewolves build, and as you could tell from the title, this is going to be a foster home. So it is a family home. It's also for my save file. So it's for my Rebuild Moonwood Mill. So yeah, it will be in my save file. This family will be in my save as well. I'll put a picture of the family up on the screen in case you guys, want to see what they look like, or if you want to download them from the gallery. They are up on the gallery already. I uploaded them, when I uploaded the build. So both of them are up on the gallery. And yeah, they're not pack restricted or anything like that because they're for my save file. So yeah, I kind of usually don't pack restrict any of my save file, builds or sims or whatever. But yeah, they're up on the gallery if you want to download them. They're completely custom content free, both the build and the family. But yeah, so like I said, this build is for a foster family, and it's a foster family of werewolves. So this household has obviously two parents. It has the Silva, who's, the Silva family, like the married couple, basically. You have Baldwin and Donna Marie. And then you have their 5 foster kids. Now, I didn't really think about, why these kids are, in the foster system or whatever, why they're not, with a blood-related family or anything like that. I didn't really come up with anything, storyline related, in that way. So that's totally up to you to decide, why they're in, like, the foster system or whatever. But I wanted to come up with personalities and stuff for the Sims, but I didn't really want to go too much, like, in the direction of why they're here. But anyway, either way, they're all like werewolves as well. Obviously the teenager is the only one who currently has, a werewolf form, because the other kids are, there's 2 children and then there's 2 toddlers as well. So a teenager, 2 kids, 2 toddlers. And yeah, that's the family. But I'll talk a little bit more about them and, all of their personalities and stories and all of that stuff a little bit later. First off, I do want to talk about the build before I get too caught up in talking about, storylines and everything. Because yeah, for my save file, I don't know if I think I mentioned this in my, like werewolf farmhouse build, I think. Or in one of my other builds that I've done. I don't think I've done another build for my save yet, but I think I've talked about it in some of my other speed builds for this pack. But ever since the pack came out, I've just had this huge burst of inspiration for especially save file stuff. So coming up with specifically like storylines, and I've just been going like ham with coming up with storylines and all of that stuff. So I got a little bit carried away. But before I get into all of that stuff and spend like hours talking about them, I do want to talk about the build really quickly. So you will notice that I did cut out a fair few like parts of the build because I had a lot of footage, and for some reason I was super indecisive when I was building this. I had a little bit of an idea in my head for what I wanted, the vibe of the house to look like. I couldn't get it to look the way I wanted. So I had to end up cutting out a couple of, like picking out wallpapers on the exterior, for example. Like the colors and stuff. I ended up changing the windows on this build, I think like 4 times before I settled on the ones that we have right now. And I changed up the wood colors. At first I wanted it to be a little bit lighter, and then I went darker with, those seasons panels and, a lot of like darker wood colors and, all of the bricks, and like not bricks, but like the stonework from seasons and stuff. So yeah, it went through a lot of changes, the overall like outside, especially like look of the house. I was so indecisive. So yeah, I did end up cutting out quite a bit of that. I also ended up cutting out me picking the wallpapers and flooring on the inside because again, very indecisive. And I actually ended up using basically the exact same wallpapers throughout most of the house. I used the like really fun colored ones from Cottage Living. So the ones that have the more fancy looking flower patterns on them, and then also the one that's a little bit brighter and a little bit more, I guess, colorful. I used those wallpapers throughout most of the house. Even the kids' bedrooms and all of that stuff, they all have practically the exact same wallpaper. But right now we're currently working on the downstairs bathroom. Now this bathroom is a full bathroom, so there's a shower tub, toilet, sink. This is also where the laundry is though, so there's a laundry machine inside, and then they have a clothesline outside. So they don't have a washer, just because I didn't think that this family would be the kind to, you know, have a washer and a dryer, if that makes sense. So they have a clothesline outside. And the downstairs bathroom is actually the only one that I show me furnishing. I cut out me doing the upstairs bathrooms. So upstairs, there's an ensuite for the parents' bedroom, and then there's another bathroom that's kind of like for the kids. Now, the downstairs bathroom is actually almost like a Jack and Jill type thing. So it's technically supposed to be the guest bathroom as well, because you can access it from the kitchen. So yeah, you can access it from the kitchen, which is also really great for laundry and all of that stuff. But then it also has another door that connects to the teenager's bedroom that's downstairs. So this house overall is 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. So obviously there's 1 bathroom downstairs, 2 bathrooms upstairs. There's the teenager's room downstairs, and then upstairs we have the kids' bedroom that they share. So the 2 kids share a bedroom. The 2 toddlers their bedroom is also upstairs. They also share a room. And then we have the parents' like master bedroom as well, with, you know, obviously their ensuite and stuff. But yeah, so I did also cut out quite a bit of me cluttering, because yeah, I did a lot of cluttering. That's just, I don't know, these days, I don't know if it's this pack in particular or the items that came with this pack, or, you know, the fact that I'm trying to go for all of these very lived in, you know, kind of, yeah, very lived in builds with this pack. I think that might be it. But these days when I've been building, especially, you know, in this world and all of that stuff, I've just been going crazy with clutter, and I'm having so much fun. I mean, usually I would go very clutter heavy in all of my builds anyway, but for these builds it makes so much sense. And I don't know, I really like the way it turned out. So I did have to cut out a little bit of cluttering and, you know, just me picking stuff, because again, I was very indecisive when I built this. I didn't know exactly, I didn't have an exact idea in my head of what I wanted it to look like. I just had an idea of the vibe that I wanted it to have. And that might sound really weird, but if you're a builder and if you're someone that, you know, builds regularly, you'll know what I'm talking about. You know, you have this idea in your head of the kind of vibe that you want a build to give off. And, you know, the hard part is just making that happen and like translating that into a build that actually looks good as well. So yeah, I actually planned out this build. I tried doing this build, like the exterior and floor plan and stuff, I think 3 or 4 times. I tried working off of like 3 separate floor plans that I found online, and, you know, I actually built all of them, like built the shell and everything, and then I just didn't like the way it looked. I didn't like the way the roofing was turning out, all of that stuff, so I scrapped it. And then eventually I just, you know, decided, you know, whatever, I'm not going to go off of a floor plan. I'm just going to sit down and like wing it. And then I winged it and came up with this one, which I actually really like. So yeah, I really like the way this house turned out. Obviously it's on a 20 by 15 lot. It's on the smallest lot that's in Moonwood Mill. And normally you'd probably build maybe like a starter home or whatever on a small lot like this. But since we only have 5 lots in Moonwood Mill, and I want 2 of them to still be community lots. I want to keep, you know, the 2 community lots. I want to still have a bar and a library, because as far as I know, those lots are kind of like, they're not essential to story, like to like figuring out the lore and the story behind Moonwood Mill. I don't think they're like essential for the werewolf gameplay and, you know, discovering lore and stuff. But they're quite important for, you know, doing stuff like that. So I do want to keep, you know, I want to still have a bar and a library in the world, which only left me with 3 lots to work with for families and stuff. So yeah, and because I'm going like really super heavy into storytelling and coming up with backstories and all of that stuff for my save file sims, especially for my occult sims, because apparently I really like creating occult sims and stories. Yeah, I have to put a really big family on a very small lot. But honestly, I think it kind of works out as well, because it'll make sense once we get to talking about, you know, the storyline behind these sims. But yeah, before I move on to like further on like storylines and stuff, I do want to say that you will notice in the living room, overall, this house has a very, like, not necessarily run down feel, but like it's supposed to look, it's not supposed to be messy or, you know, like they haven't been taking care of it or anything like that. It's just supposed to look old. So it's just supposed to look like, you know, they have more important things to worry about, or like more important things to spend money on than, you know, fixing up the wallpaper that might be, you know, peeling off or tearing in a couple of places. Or, you know, they have a couple of more important things to worry about than whether there's a crack in some of the stone or, you know, stuff like that. It's just supposed to look older. It's not supposed to look like it's falling apart, but it is supposed to look older. It's supposed to look a little bit more worn and stuff. So I actually did this off camera, but I went ahead off camera before I took the screenshots and everything. And before I uploaded it, I actually went through and put some of those tears and cracks and, you know, all of that stuff. I put all of those things on the interior and on the exterior to, like I said, make it just look a little bit older and all of that stuff. So I did that off camera. And then also, because this is a 20 by 15 lot and the house is a 4-bedroom house, I needed it to be quite, you know, not large on the inside, because obviously they're sharing rooms and all of that stuff. But I needed it to be large enough for a family of 7 Sims. So because of that, I don't really have much of a yard space. So they have a little bit of like a side yard where I put a planter box, a like little picnic table, obviously the washing line, and then a fire pit. And that's basically it that we have space for in the yard. There's no like, no kids play area or anything like that, which is a little bit of a letdown. But honestly, I think in this area of Moonwood Mill, there's actually a little like not toddler, what am I saying, a child like monkey bar thing in the world, so like in a communal space of the world. So you do have that for the kids. And then obviously I have all of the bedrooms. I tried to fit as much into their bedrooms as I could. And then upstairs in this hallway area, we actually have like a family, or like, I guess, communal computer space. In my head, the teenager is probably the one that spends the most time at the computer up here, because she actually likes writing. And I didn't want to give her a laptop because, like I said, this family doesn't feel like the kind of family that would have, you know, they don't like abhor, like they don't hate modern technology or anything like that. They have a small plasma, like flat screen TV downstairs. They have a game console. They obviously have computers and all of that stuff, but they wouldn't have like, you know, the top of the range stuff. So they have a little bit of like an older computer upstairs for the teenager to use. She does have a desk in her bedroom, so if you wanted to play in here and you wanted to give, you know, whoever stays in that room their own computer, then you could easily do that. But basically, I wanted to add the little bit more of a, I guess, kind of expensive TV. I could have put one of the 2 cheapest ones downstairs, but I wanted to give them a little bit more of an expensive TV and a gaming console, because both of the kids, both of them actually like video games and they like gaming and all of that stuff. And I figured that Baldwin and Donna Marie, who's obviously, you know, the parents, they would try and make this house as, you know, nice and kid-friendly and fun for the kids as they possibly could. So they have stuff like that. They have stuff like, you know, the chess table, because one of the kids actually likes chess. They have, you know, the game console, they have a computer, and, you know, all of that stuff. So yeah, that's something that I wanted to just keep in mind. Now, I think that's everything that I particularly wanted to mention about the build, I think. I mean, you'll notice that in the master bedroom, they actually have a separate computer desk and typewriter setup type thing. And that's because Baldwin, the dad, is actually a freelance writer. So that's his, you know, career. That's how he makes his money. And yeah, he does that for a living. And then downstairs, you'll also notice in the living room, I ended up putting a a cross-stitch basket and a knitting basket. I also ended up putting a knitting, like, you know, little basket thing on the porch as well, because Donna Marie is actually, she's technically like a stay-at-home mom, I guess you could say. But she also makes a lot of like cross-stitch and knitting stuff that she sells on Plopsy. So that's kind of how she makes money. But yeah, so I think that's everything I wanted to mention about the build. Like I said, it is up on the gallery if you want to download it. It's not pack restricted, so I did use a fair few packs, and it turned out to be about 99,000-ish simoleons, so it's not super cheap either. it is quite expensive, but if you consider that it's a 4-bedroom house for 7 Sims, then it's not too bad. So yeah, downstairs we have the teenagers room, the kids rooms upstairs. I will also point out that I'm not doing it right now, but when we get to the kids room, you'll notice that I make kind of like a double desk setup. And basically you'll see it once we get to it, but I can't really explain it really well. But yeah, I did go ahead and playtest that. So I did playtest it, it works, you know, everything in that room works. So you won't have any issues with, you know, them using the desk or anything like that. I wanted to point that out. But yeah, so moving on to the Sims that live here. So obviously you have Baldwin and Donna Marie, who's the parents. And Baldwin is actually an elder, but Donna Marie is an adult. So she's a little bit of like an older adult. I think I have her in my save file set up to be, I think, about 6 days. Yeah, I think 4-6 days away from turning into an elder. So she's also like, you know, she's getting up there in age. And in my head, Baldwin is, you know, maybe he just turned into an elder. So the age gap isn't like super big or anything. But Baldwin is actually the only greater werewolf in the household. So he's, if you guys have played with anything of the Werewolves pack, you'll know that there's this trait for werewolves, the greater wolf bloodline trait, that basically it's kind of like, you know, the ancient bloodline and strong bloodline traits for spellcasters, where, you know, having that trait kind of makes them, you know, gain werewolf experience easier, learn stuff easier, all of that stuff. And it's also something that they pass on to their kids. But yeah, Baldwin is actually the only one in the household that has that trait, because in my head, he's been in Moonwood Mill like his whole life. His family has lived here for generations. Maybe this is actually his like family home, and it's been here, you know, maybe this is where he grew up as well. So yeah, he is actually also the only greater werewolf that isn't in a pack. So in my save file, I have it. Obviously, I have it set up so that we have, obviously, you know, the Wild Fangs and the Moonwood Collective, which is like EA's packs that they put in. But I also have 2 separate packs, the Crescent pack and the Sorensen pack, that I've created myself. I've created the families. You guys will have seen me create the Argent family, who's kind of like the leaders of the Crescent pack. I'll put the Creator video linked on the screen. But that's the family that lives in my farmhouse, my werewolf farmhouse. But basically those 2 packs are just packs that I've set up using the club system from Get Together. Now, they all have that ancient bloodline trait, because in my head, those 2 packs, again, have been here for generations. And, you know, all of their kids and everything, they were all born werewolves. So they all have that trait. But Baldwin is actually the only one that isn't part of a pack. He's the only greater werewolf that isn't part of a pack. You know, either one of like my packs or EA's pack. So he's totally like, he's not really a lone wolf, because he kind of has a little bit of a small pack of his own with, you know, all of his kids and his wife and all of that stuff. And he's also like super close friends with all of the other pack alphas and everything. He's actually best friends with Arne Sorensen. I can't say his name. I always hate when I give my Sims names that sound really cool, and I know they sound really cool when you pronounce them correctly. I just can't pronounce them correctly. So yeah, Arne, I can't say it properly, but basically the Sorensen Alpha, he's best friends with him. And then his wife, Donna Marie, is actually best friends with the Alpha's wife. So the Sorensen pack Alpha's wife, Kindra, she's actually best friends with her. So they're quite close to all of the pack alphas and all of the packs and stuff. They all get along really, really well with, you know, everyone in Moonwood Mill. They just aren't part of a pack like on their own either. So yeah, that's Baldwin. So Baldwin is, you know, they kind of, he's the only greater werewolf, like I said, and they also, the 2 of them, they kind of have an arrangement with, in my head, like the local adoption agency. So that's why all of the kids that they're raising, they're all werewolves, because in my head, you know, maybe they take in all of the werewolf kids because they would be a little bit too difficult for like normal sim families to handle, if that makes sense. I mean, think about it. If you think about, you know, werewolves and all of the issues and like the anger management stuff that comes along with being a werewolf, like traditionally, you know, in like lore and all of that stuff, then it would probably be quite difficult for a normal family to deal with, you know, all of the changes that they go through as they age up and all of that stuff. So they kind of take in all of the werewolf kids, like werewolf foster kids and all of that stuff. And that also means that these kids will probably be with them for like their whole lives. So they'll probably live here until they age up into young adults and either like go to university or move out or something like that. Because also in my head, you know, normal sims don't really want to adopt werewolves when, you know, they're normal sims. At least that's in my head. I mean, obviously not all sims are going to be like that, but just, you know, it's a little bit harder in my head for werewolf sims to get adopted than it is for like a regular sim, if that makes sense, just because there's a lot more work that goes into taking care of a werewolf. So yeah, these kids are probably all going to be with them for like their whole lives. But yeah, so Baldwin has been Moonwood Mill for generations. Like I said, he actually like also like really close friends with all of the other pack alphas. And in my head, you know, there was this big vampire werewolf war as well, you know, years and years ago. And he fought alongside all of them, which is where he got all of those really like almost scary looking scars on his face. And like he has these really big scars on his body as well. And he looks a little bit like, those make him look a little bit scarier than he is. He's actually like a big teddy bear and just loves kids, loves his big family and, you know, all of that stuff. But neither he nor Donna can have like kids of their own. So that's kind of why they have, you know, all of these foster kids and why they, you know, want to give them the best life that they possibly can. So yeah, they can't have any kids of their own. So that's why they have all of these foster kids. And they absolutely love their big family and they love these kids, you know, they try to give them the best life that they possibly can. And they also try and teach them, you know, how to control their werewolf sides and all of that stuff. So yeah, that's Baldwin. And Donna Marie is actually, she's not a greater werewolf, like I said. She actually was turned by Baldwin. So in my head, they met when she was like, maybe like a young adult. Maybe she just moved to Moonwood Mill or whatever. And then when they met, they actually discovered that they were fated mates. So she actually asked him to turn her and he did. And, you know, she's been a werewolf ever since, obviously. And she's not really an outdoorsy sim. So all of like the outdoor activities like gardening, all of that stuff, that's more like Baldwin's area of like what he likes doing. He likes fishing, likes gardening, likes being outside. She doesn't really like any of that stuff. She's very athletic, but she prefers to be inside. So she prefers to, you know, take care of the house. She prefers, you know, obviously making stuff for Plopsy. She likes cooking and baking, all of that stuff. So yeah, she prefers to spend most of her time inside. And then we have the teenager Kayleen. Now, she's been with the family for the longest out of all of the kids. So she's probably been with them since she was a young child herself. So yeah, she literally sees this as her family. She sees the other kids as her siblings. And yeah, she loves helping out. She loves cooking and baking as well. So she likes helping with dinner and baking treats for her siblings and all of that stuff. She's also the least werewolfy out of all of the teenagers that I've created for my save file, like werewolf teenagers. So she's not really athletic. She actually dislikes being active and, you know, all of the other werewolf stuff. So she's not really super athletic. She prefers, you know, not spending too much time outdoors. But she does love writing. So like I said, she wants to be a best-selling author one day. So she really wants to turn writing into like it's like her dream job, basically. But she also currently works part-time as a barista. So in like the barista, coffee, whatever career. So yeah, she's the only one of them, like one of my teenagers, like werewolf teenagers, that has a part-time career. And I figure she just does that, you know, to help out around the house and all of that stuff with, you know, bills and, you know, taking care of all of these kids. And she's also fated mates and dating the Sorensen next in line alpha, so Thorin. So he's the oldest teenager in the Sorensen pack, and he's like next in line to be alpha. she's actually dating him and they're fated mates. But in my head, that's a fairly recent thing. They only fairly recently like met and got together, because he's actually also still dating a couple of other Sims that she doesn't know about. So yeah, that's a little bit of like drama going on that I don't want to get into too much, because I don't know if I want to tell you too much about the Sorensen family before we actually build anything for them. But yeah, so moving on to the kids. So we have the oldest child, who's the one that has the little like green sleeved shirt underneath the like brown button up shirt. You'll see him on the screen obviously, but that's Shay, and he's actually, even though he's the oldest of the children, like the child Sims, he's actually one of the newest members of the family. So only one of the toddlers is like newer than him, so he's like basically the second to last Sim, I guess, to join the family. And he's having a little bit of a harder time adjusting to, you know, not being with his blood family anymore and being in this new place and having all of these new siblings and all of that stuff. And he's actually a mean Sim, so yeah, it's a little bit like yikes. So yeah, he's also going through a little bit of like a mean streak, so like the phase, he's going through that as well. And he really doesn't get along with Mal, who's the other child. So they really don't get along, even though they have to share a room. So yeah, they don't get along at all. He also doesn't really get along with Kayleen as well. But yeah, so he really doesn't like being here. I mean, he doesn't mind being here. He likes Donna Marie and Baldwin. He doesn't like having siblings. So in my head, maybe he used to be like an only child and he really doesn't, you know, like having everyone around. And yeah, so he actually did make a best friend. He has made a best friend, even though he is quite new to town. He's best friends with one of the Sorensen kids. And yeah, he also, like I said, doesn't really like Mal. We're actually running out of time in this video, so I'm gonna run through these kids really quickly. But yeah, then you have Mal, who's a little bit younger. He's been with the family since his sister was like a really young baby. His sister is actually Molly, one of the toddlers, that she's the one that has the green dress on. But yeah, they've been with the family for ages, and they basically think of the Silver family as their parents. They can't really remember their like birth parents. This is just their family now. And yeah, he's very much the opposite of his like adopted brother. So he's very nice, very sweet, very shy as well. And then yeah, we just have the two toddlers. Obviously they're toddlers, so there's not much to say about them. But yeah, I basically ran out of time to get all of their storylines out. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this build. And yeah, I hope you're looking forward to my next video. And yeah, I hope you're all having a great day as well. And I'll talk to you on my very next video. Bye everyone.
I've been trying my best for a while, trying to please everyone who's around me. I've been putting on a fake smile, even though I'm wasting time. I don't want to be trapped in a box, trying to be like the rest when I'm not. I just wanna